Welcome back, everyone, for a Jed and Gary wrestling podcast. This one is for review on AEW Dynamite this week. That was 2 days ago, because we are recording this on a Friday, so the 5th of August 2020. And for me, it's cracking, absolutely phenomenal, over-delivered in some bits, and then one tedious bit, which is not even that big of a problem for me, but we'll get into it. Gary, overall.
Loved it. You can't complain about that episode at all, can you? Although I'm sure we'll find a few things to talk about later.
You know what I'm like, devil's advocate sometimes, so I'll proper praise at a certain point and I'll look up into the sky thinking, no, there was something wrong with that. So it kicked off right in the mix of it all. 12-man tag with the Dark Order versus FTR, the Young Bucks, Hangman and Kenny Omega. Do you want your thoughts before I go into this match, Gary? Do you want me to go through the match first and then we'll just absolutely praise it at the end?
If you want to just go through the match and then we'll just praise it at the end, because that's the only thing we really can do. For that many people to be in a match and it to go this well is just phenomenal.
It was, and I thought the storytelling was superb. So, quick overview then. There was no entrances, and that was very important because they got more wrestling time in, which was very, very, very well good. And a very good camera work at the very beginning, because Brody Lee was sitting on top of his corner, and he was looking absolutely badass, whilst Colt was there all smiling, and the rest of the Dark Order just wanted to eat the other team up. It started off with Brody Lee and Nick, and then Young Bucks kept tagging in each other away from the tag rope. I just want to point that out just for future reference. And basically, they were taking Brody Lee down, but Brody Lee got back up, destroyed them all. They just did moves, spot fest. You know what it's like with Young Bucks and everybody else, with big man tag teams. Then eventually, there was a move where FTR tagged each other in, and I think it was Dax that went down and he was selling his knee. He had to go into the back, so one of the referees took him into the back, along with Hangman Page and the other FTR member. This left just Omega and the Young Bucks in the ring, and it was mostly Matt, to be honest, that was around it. Before that happened, there was I've only got my notes here, Gary, so I'm just going to spit it all out because there's literally, I'm counting on top of my head, about 30 bullet points. So it was a 4v3 triple vertical suplex. Amazing. There was your favourite bit from BTE where Omega was chasing Colt around the ring. And to be honest, the commentators mentioned BTE,
Yes.
which I appreciated. There was a tease to a triple leg lock with Hangman Page and FTR before they went off, which was very interesting. We'll get into it later. Before FTR got tagged in, they were checking their watches, a fake invisible watch, whilst the Young Bucks were in the ring. Then the injury happened. Then they went back to the ring, just Young Bucks and Omega, fighting around, trying to survive. And it was basically Matt for a good 3 minutes doing just drops on all of the Dark Order at one point and then getting back in the ring. It looked actually spectacular, that spot. Then Hangman shows up. Coincidental had to be Matt that tagged him in, which was just a nod to what they've had previously. Hangman destroys the Dark Order and Brody Lee just watches on. And then Brody Lee, Hangman asks Brody Lee to get tagged in, which he does. He basically gets destroyed by Brody Lee, and then Hangman fights back a little bit. He gets hung up to the Chicago skyline, looks to the finish. Hangman goes for one of his usual moves, misses. Brody Lee cleans him out with one of his discus lariats. 1, 2, 3, finish. And I genuinely thought the Dark Order finish here was the perfect way to end it, to be honest, Gary.
Yeah, definitely. You've got the whole cockiness of Adam Page coming out to haunt the Elite as well. So that's always a bit of an extra building block, and Kenny's going to feel superior next week, and we're going to see that storyline continue. So everyone knows that that's something I'm really looking forward to building on coming up to the 5th of September and the massive pay-per-view that's coming up.
It was a very good little neat story they told, and many different ones. The one that stood out to me was when FTR and Hangman went to the back, and it was the fact that Brody Lee for like a couple of weeks they said the strength in numbers for the Dark Order, and the fact that it was 6v3 It just spot on. I just want to have a correction as well. It was number 9, I believe, in the ring, not number 10, that what we said in the preview, which didn't matter that much anyway, because he basically just put a few moves in and got hit. Number 5 was the one that did more of the moves out of them 2 jobbery type of characters. And I really, really like number 5's in-ring work. He's actually very, very good. Obviously, you've got Stu Grayson and Uno doing their usual tag team tactics, but the star of this match, hands down, were Brody Lee. I thought he can construct a match, and if you add him and the Young Bucks together, wowee.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't turn around and complain about Brody Lee. Since he turned up in AEW, he's showing that little Intercontinental title run that he had in WWE wasn't a fluke.
Yeah. Just this time he can speak properly.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't have someone speaking for him. That's always a great thing when you've got someone like Brody Lee.
It is, and it's very, very full turn. We mentioned this on the preview. It's very positive now what they've done with the Dark Order. I think this is pinnacle now to going forward. Unsure where they go from now on. I generally think there will be a rematch with Dark Order and Omega and Hangman eventually, again, for them to lose. But I think there's a rematch coming down the line. I don't think it's pay-per-view either. I think it's going to be after the pay-per-view when they win a few probably tag matches on Dark, maybe. This is just me thinking outside the box. But overall, phenomenal. And yes, as you stated right there, Gary, the Omega and Hangman storyline continues with, because Omega can now have the high horse going into next week saying, well, Hangman, you go in at the end of the matches, you're trying to beat everyone up. You're trying to be the best player, but you failed. You got taken out by Brody Lee. Come on, you need to let me shine a little bit. And it's a bit, was it last week where Hangman interrupted Omega's entrance?
Yeah, it was. And it's just building up really nicely. I'm really hoping that Omega's the one to bring back the cleaner gimmick from New Japan. But if we do see a heel version of Hangman, I'm fine with that as well, just because, well, I'll support that guy anyway, so it doesn't make any difference.
It is. It's a very, very roller coaster ride. There's half the time where I think, oh, Omega's the one that's going to turn. And then the other times I think Hangman's going to, well, obviously, because I said half, but the other time Hangman's going to turn. But they keep every month, they just change it slightly. And it's working really, really well. I generally think, me personally, this will probably continue for a good few more months. I generally think the first episode, when, again, it's back to when fans are back, when they have majority of fans back and when they want to pull the gigantic angles, I think this is the first one they're going to pull. Really, really do. Because they've played it that well with, they can do it at any time as well. And it really goes.
They can go either way with it as well, which again is an advantage that they've got on sort of like the WWE booking, which is usually very black and white, and you can tell what's happening months in advance. Whereas this is sort of all shades of grey, and you can see from both sides why they would turn.
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely fantastic storytelling. So well done to everyone that's involved in that, because they deserve the praise that they'll get.
Definitely. And then you've got a few little niggles that carry on other people's storyline. I just best storyline in wrestling for 2020 and the latter end of last year as well. It was perfect. Absolutely outstanding. So clap. So next on the Dynamite list, we had a mini, well, it wasn't even a promo. Basically, Best Friends came out of Trent's mum's car and entered the ring. And they wanted to show that for the later angle. We can either go on to that now, Gary, or we can leave it later on. I am not fussed because it's quite interesting what they've done with it.
Yeah, if we talk about it now, it seems to be sort of perfect sort of territory for it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So with the car as such, we're not going to go too much into the Best Friend Santa Ortiz match. It's a very, very mid-card-esque match, I generally thought. I've got a few thoughts on it when we roll up to it. Get it, roll up for the win. I didn't actually mean to do that. Never mind. But, it was the fact that the Best Friends won the match, and then there was a bit of a promo where Santana and Ortiz, they weren't called proud and powerful, which I found very unusual. But they came out, they found the car, and they started trashing it. They sledgehammered the windows, the sides and spray painted it. And it's very, very funny how they've used what I generally thought was going to be a one-off gag from the pay-per-view, and they've just constantly used it with the car. They're selling T-shirts with it on. They've used it once. They've actually used it a couple of times for their entrances, and now they've trashed it. So that car has basically had a very, very good storyline in AEW. So very well done.
Yeah. And it backs up Triple H's comments from that Hall of Fame a couple of years back, where he just described AEW as a merchandise company that just sells T-shirts. 100%, that storyline is just, I'm going to sell T-shirts with a car on the front of it. And just, to be fair, if I've got a spare 30 quid, yeah, they might as well have it. If I'm at an event, of course, best friends T-shirt, I'm on that.
See, I would buy the other one where Santana and Ortiz are in the wrecked car, the exact same like view, but they're in the wrecked car and Chris Jericho's driving it. Be phenomenal. I would buy that one. Yes, AEW, if you do hear this, if you are one of our 17 subscribers this morning time, please take that idea. And I just want a free T-shirt out of it. But I generally thought the angle itself, because I was surprised that Best Friends won. I generally thought it was going to be Santana and Ortiz's like redemption coming back up the card, eventually going to get like another title shot, because they are the veterans of the group. But I was surprised with the outcome. I was thinking, where are they going to go with this? And they answered it with the car angle. But within the match, it was quite interesting because one of the good things I like about AEW is they always sell me on injuries all the time. Like with Dax on, that you just know it's fake. But I looked at him thinking, oh Jesus, is this actually real? He's getting carted off straight away out of the ring. And then it's the same with Trent in that match. He were selling I think it was his lower back. And I just fell for it. I don't know if that were real or it was worked, but it was very, very unusual. Different type of match. I generally think the Best Friends need to work up the gears into the 4-star type of matches, because they currently have a ceiling of just hitting like 3.5 max, probably 3. For me, Gary, because I forgot to ask you, the first match was a good 8.5 out of 10, and then the Best Friends match was just 5.5, 5, and that's the difference, and that's where I think.
Yeah, I think this is leading to a pay-per-view match though, so they've probably held a lot of stuff back.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's where we're going to end up going, is towards All Out.
Would you want to watch that though?
Yeah. In all fairness, I like Proud and Powerful, so yeah, I'd watch that. Like I said, I'd buy the merch for Best Friends. So yeah, it's a decent way to spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes on a pay-per-view. If so long as they pull out all the stops, they're more than capable of filling that and doing probably a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 pay-per-view match.
A sort of team to go out there and not necessarily die, but just try and recover from an absolute banging match, the one before it.
Yeah. Not so much a toilet break, but one of them where you're just like recovering.
Yeah. One thing I would like to mention as well, during the match, Taz confirmed Cage and Starks are banned from the arena. And even though Excalibur wasn't on, and we mentioned this last week, so I don't want to go too much into it anyway, I generally think Taz is still a good replacement. Not as electric is what I would say Excalibur is, but he gets the information out, and he's probably one of the best people for it, because I've always liked the stuff he does with when he tells us how like, a move's so powerful. When he was doing about Moxley, he couldn't get his arms around Cage for his finisher and stuff, but he's the one that always seems to get the little details out just to inform you. So I thought that was very positive. So well done, Taz. Just before the match, Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz, because we wanted to do that collectively, there was a basically bog standard Mox promo, which to first say it was extremely good, considering not as gritty as he usually goes to, but enlightening to his developments and not friendship, but his relationship with Darby Allin, really.
Yeah. As I've said, the whole Mox champion thing isn't really doing it for me. It's a stepping stone, and I appreciate the fact that we've got stepping stones and these little promos that tell you this is a progression for this character, because Mox, as he said, he's a complete loner. So the fact that he's got Darby Allin, who is recognizing, yeah, fair enough, but nah, it's just it. I don't know what it is. It's just this character and me aren't seeing eye to eye, so to speak.
Okay.
It's not clicking.
And you're not to blame, Gary. They can't, like with everything, everyone can't like it, but if you're feeling that, there is always someone else out there feeling the exact same way. So that is up to AEW now to fix it. I generally thought the promo was really well, and this is where I got into the fact that I was actually pleasantly surprised. But we'll get to that. He basically said Darby Allin reminds him of himself, and he was telling Darby to stay down when the time is right. So very important. That decent promo for Moxley, but nothing unexpected because he's extremely good on the mic.
Yeah, it's not something that I'm debating on it. It was a very good promo. It's just, for me personally, I can see how Mox would be someone's favourite character in the entire show.
Yeah.
But it's just not mine, unfortunately. I think with me, it was very much, I got tired of him in WWE, and I'm still seeing that version of him. And I don't know why. Because it's totally different. It's a totally different character. But yeah, there's just that little bit in the back of my mind that goes, yeah, Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, it's the two-dimensional, three-dimensional type of characters. So you've got wrestlers that are two-dimensional, which I generally think Mox is more into that category. And then you've got wrestlers that are very three-dimensional, even four when you look at Omega and what he can do. But you can't compare them both exactly the same with their own styles in their own way. But I do get you. It's like his gimmick's the same, just under a different name and different gear, I would really say. And it's a bit of a shame that. I'm just hoping it starts getting better since this match, but we will see. Only time can tell. Depends on if they pull the plug on the all-out match against MJF. And talking about MJF, he basically fired someone, made fun of women once again, wanted to check if a poster was level. He wanted to see how he was looking in the polls. Obviously, he was about 58 million ahead. And he called Darby Allin emo kid in this promo about his campaign.
Can I just say, right, that last line of, oh yeah, I'd be really upset if the £150 emo kid won, was just absolutely what people should think at that point. Like, MJF is going to want to face what he sees as the weaker character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just heel logic. And for me, that works.
It does, and this is why he's so perfect. I generally think that it's an unusual one with MGF. It's like he knows exactly what he's going to say, but still makes it up on the spot. It's really unusual. And I generally thought that was just a line he thought on top of his head. I bet he knew the question would come into him, but he just wanted to make it up because that's what he does. But as a little update for us, I thought it was actually very well done. Just a little different persona, different environment. Extremely sports entertainment like. Very WWE-esque, this, I thought. I don't know why it reminded me of Team Hell No. You know, when they go into the anger management classes, when they're in the big room.
Yeah.
It just, don't know why. It just reminded me of that sort of style, but very, very well done. He is the only character in wrestling today that can still look down onto women and not get a word ripped into him for it, because we all know it's in the character. So, box standard, MGF is totally the best heel in all the wrestling.
No arguments from me.
And very promo heavy, because the next promo was the guy that basically nearly lost a pint of blood, Matt Hardy. So he was in the ring, and I really enjoyed the style of this promo. That it was just basically in the ring with a mic, camera was in his face. We don't really see that much that in AEW that often, and when it happens, the promos are just perfect, beyond extremely very well done. So he's basically saying he wanted his wrestling to work, he wanted to be respected. He's in a sea of an incredibly talented roster within AEW, but when he came to AEW, he wanted to celebrate the Hardy, I think he called it the Hardyverse, was it?
Yeah, the Matt Hardy multiverse.
Brilliant, yeah. But
Yeah.
instead, he listened to the fans just like AEW does, and he mentioned that. And the fans said he needs to focus on himself, which is what he was doing, and that's what he was out telling us. There's people in the back that he respects, and they're incredibly talented that he wants to try and get over, i.e., Private Party that he mentioned, and i.e., he mentioned good old Sammy. So, what happens next is Sammy comes out behind the ring. I don't know why he was hiding in the ring, just for the evening.
It fit in really well with the promo that he was cutting at the time.
Yeah.
And the fact that he turned around and said, I attacked you behind just like you did with me, and then Sammy slithered like a snake into the ring, right? And the little glimpse of broken Matt Hardy that you got at that moment where he's just like, I knew you'd come.
Yeah.
Right? That was just like, yes, there we go. That's the little bit of character work that I really want to see. Like, I don't want full on broken multiverse, all this sort of stuff. But I'm okay with a Matt Hardy that will incorporate little bits every so often. Yeah, that to me works.
Yeah, I thought it was very well done, especially that line. It did pop me when he said that. I was just giggling to myself. But you know what I'm like, Gary? I like the one character that has many different personas. So I'll miss Matt if he doesn't do his full personas. He just needs to do everything.
I think he will be doing. I just think that it'll be a slow burn until all of them return.
Yeah.
But it'll be like a proper sort of like multi-personality sort of thing, like they're doing on Being the Elite.
Yeah, precisely. That is a very, very good, just, I would say, wavelengths just to go off for Matt, because his big money Matt persona was brilliant. So Matt carried on. They started brawling a little bit with Sammy and himself. They were doing a bit of outside of the ring brawling. Matt put Sammy through the ring bell table. And then he brings out another big table while Sammy throws a chair at him. So just for everybody's reference, Matt didn't blade himself. He didn't bleed on purpose. Sammy, unfortunately, there was a chair located outside the ring that he needed to find. He couldn't find it, so he found one of them proper thick and heavy ones, chucked to the mat, and the leg hit him in top of the forehead, and that's why he gushed so much. So it wasn't actually genuinely supposed to happen, but I thought the visual actually just added to it. But Sammy went to the top of the ramp, did one of his somersault moves on, and then his shoulder collided with him, brought to the table, and he walked off, blood all over his joggers, his chest, just looking like an absolute cocky little star.
Yeah, in the words of Matt Hardy on Twitter, receipt incoming.
It was, and I generally thought his little, if anyone's not seen it, check his Twitter and his YouTube channel for Matt Hardy. His little promo he did whilst Doctor was just like dabbing his wound, spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see that. That's progressing really nicely.
Do you want to know my favourite bit about that angle though, Gary?
Go on.
Two little tiny things for me. One, it's got me over to liking that little, they fired it up for me again because I didn't like it last week. No, I didn't like it when Sammy came out. No, it was last week. Sorry, me getting confused when Matt pushed Sammy. I didn't like it last week. I thought that ruined the match, ruined the angle. And I thought this week with the blood, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have been that much into it. But I was like, Jesus, he looks hurt. But the second one, it wasn't someone in the angle. It was Taz again. You know what he said? Did you actually catch what he said?
No, I didn't. What was the
Why? He literally said, why is Matt getting so annoyed at this kid? And it just reminded me of the time as when Darby Allin ghosted Taz because he didn't want to accept his advice. And he just brought it up in there. I was like, you little... Oh, he got me. Well played, Taz. He's done very well in commentary. That was one of the ones that very, very well done. So if anyone did miss it...
I think you can find when Taz is motivated for commentary, he's actually one of the best out there. It's just most of the time what you get from Taz on commentary is a very bored sort of person.
It is. It depends what kind of night it is. And I think because he knew as well, if you compare this from last week, he knew that he was going to be on commentary, didn't he? So he would have got a few things in. So Clap, clap, clap. Very well done. Next thing was Santana Ortiz crashing at the van. We've already talked about this. And then the next match, it was Cody and Matt versus the Dark Order. And well, I want to hear your comments, Gary, before I have mine.
Exactly what it should have been on the tin there, isn't it? Exactly what it should have been. But that being said, before we were talking on here, who were you mentioning? Who was the star?
Definitely not Matt. It wasn't Cody. It was John Silver. He was phenomenal. I thought he was brilliant in that match.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the whole Dark Order and the character work since Brody Lee's come in has just been immense. It's such a turnaround from the fake punches, like you mentioned in the preview.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was that engrossed in the match, even though it was a bit of a weird one. I wasn't that bothered about the outcome. I just wanted Matt to do his very, very best. I didn't really take much notes of it. I've only just got the finish. But all I can think is Cody was selling his ribs a hell of a lot. He was taking a lot of the offense off. John Silver was doing very, very well with mat wrestling and getting the grapples over. Whilst Alex Reynolds, the other one, he was doing okay. He was just there, like filling up numbers, really. But when Matt got hot tagged, it was a bit unusual. He did his usual moves. But I don't know what it was, Gary, but something just fell off a little bit. It wasn't shining as much as I wanted him to. I still love his finisher, which is now called Radio Silence. That is outstanding. I still love that finisher.
Yeah, I actually love the rename of that. Yeah. Like, usually I wouldn't be a massive fan of renaming finishing moves when I've got so used to it being a Rough Rider or what have you. But Radio Silence is such a better name. It's unreal.
It is, and you never know. That might be like just tagging into his like future gimmick when it comes into it, because a lot of fans, they want him to defend like his internet title on Dark and whatnot, because that's like the YouTube stuff. And with Radio Silence, go on.
If you go into the lyrics of his WWE theme, didn't it mention like, "Oh, Radio, don't you think that you should know some," or something like that, right? So Radio Silence, do you not think that could be a play on them lyrics?
I've never thought of that, to be honest. That is actually very, very, very interesting. So, Zack Ryder, theme, lyrics. So give me 1 second.
Yeah, I'm sure it brings up something like that. It's like really cheesy.
Yeah, I used to have it on Spotify a while ago. So I like to sing with the radio. God knows I will be a rock star. Yeah. Literally, his song name was called Radio.
Yeah, exactly. So Radio Silence. It's just perfect continuity from like his past career.
That's made the finisher much, much better. That's changed my mind on Matt's persona there. But again, that's just a name. That's not what he did. I generally think he could have looked more powerful in the match. We knew where the win was going to. That was nothing. I think there were two things for me. Matt didn't outshine. And with these two of the Dark Order, they're their own little tag team as such. Evil Uno, yes, he wears a mask, but Stu doesn't. I don't think these two need to wear masks either, It was quite distracting. They're not, their faces anyway. I get why they're wearing it, but they've got the Dark Order symbols on their trunks and stuff and other bits of gear. I don't know why I found that distracting, but I was distracted by that.
Yeah, I just think it's part of what I call the Dark Order minions. It's part of their gimmick, isn't it? That they're all like masked up. Even like Anna Jay has a little like half face mask thing going on, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's like taking the bunny persona now, but into like a Dark Order gimmick. So, that's interesting. That might be a prediction for future conversations. But overall, Gary, the match was relatively okay. For me, it was just 6 out of 10, I would say. I think Silver's the one that made me enjoy the match much more than I thought I was going to anyway.
Yeah, to me, it was just an experiment to put Matt Cardona over. It worked. And yeah, if we get an extra star in John Silver, then I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. So from radio silence to absolutely more radio silence, because it's Orange next with the debate. So in the review, we were seeing who was going to be the special moderator for the debate against Chris Jericho and Orange. And the name that came across to us did seem to be true. So I'm guessing that name that did get given to me through Reddit. They didn't put a spoiler alert on. They should have done, because it was Eric Bischoff. Before we go into it, how well do you think he did individually?
Bischoff was his same old sort of hand on heart sort of amazing character. I thought he was brilliant, but he's never really struggled with a mic in his hand. He always delivers in that part.
Yeah, he does, and I really enjoyed it that he didn't go full, like, because his persona was usually heel, weren't it? So
Yeah,
I thought he was going to get introduced by like Chris Jericho, because Chris Jericho's the one that like basically chose the moderator, from what I can remember from the other weeks when they announced it. It was weird that he just came out by himself, which I'm not bothered about. It set the mood, because it was three separate people, and I think they needed that as such. I generally thought they were going to do the Chris Jericho and Eric Bischoff handshake that happened very, very many years back. But overall, this segment was more of WWE stuff, if you add on to MJF's sort of stuff. But I absolutely love this, Gary. I popped near enough throughout of it.
Yeah, I can't say anything more than what you just have. I did the same.
It was phenomenal.
I don't know whether I should feel ashamed for saying that or not, which I think makes it perfect for pro wrestling.
So one question I've got for you then, Gary, before I go into the nitty gritty of the segment is, through Reddit, some random person asked some other person when they were on about this segment, was, if this was in WWE, you would have hated it. Is that necessarily true? For me, if this in WWE, depending on the characters, I would have probably laughed just as much, but they would have ruined this segment, I think. It wouldn't have been half as funny as what it was anyway.
Right. So earlier you brought up Daniel Bryan and Kane and the whole like therapy sort of aura that they had, right?
Yeah.
Now just imagine, right, Eric Bischoff back in 2003 or whenever it was, is sat up the top of the stage, right, with a podium in front of him, asking like Daniel Bryan and Kane. I know that Daniel Bryan wasn't in the company at the time, but even so, the point stands.
Yeah.
Right? Asking them these questions, right? I would really enjoy that segment. However, if it was like a Brock Lesnar and an Undertaker that was being asked the questions, I wouldn't. So I think it really depends on the characters that you've got involved. And to me, Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho are two of the best at this sort of stuff. So they were the right characters for it.
They definitely was. And with Orange as well, because he did eventually speak, just out of everyone's surprises. It was the perfect time how to just further develop him, because you don't really see Orange speak as much. He doesn't even speak that much on BT either, which is very good. So, first question Eric Bischoff asked was, why does Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy hate each other so much? Which Chris Jericho starts off with, it's not answering the question, just looks at Orange saying, Orange is not even dressed. I'm here in so many dollars expensive suit, and Orange has just got his usual denim on, and he's not even been bothered to wear a tie. And then Orange ruffles through his pockets and just puts a clip-on tie like Americans would if they're going to like a prom or something. I don't know, I've never been to one, but it was just perfect, that first bit. And then the second question was, who is the better wrestler and the biggest star? Obviously Jericho points at himself with the biggest smile on his face, and you have Jake Hager in the background looking like one of them boxer coaches, you know, like he looked like if Jericho was about to break a sweat, he was going to run in the ring and like dab his sweat, but no, he didn't do it. Obviously Jericho with Orange Cassidy, he didn't say anything. The third question was in relation to global sea levels have risen over the last century. What are your thoughts? Chris Jericho just basically blatantly ignores the question, saying, what a silly question that is. I'm not answering it. And then Orange clears his throat, absolutely grinds into the question, saying we're really, really quick. He's answering this as well with how dangerous sea levels rising are to cities, the environment, etc., etc. But what popped me was they had it split screens. You had Orange answering, and then you had Chris Jericho's face looking
Yeah,
so.
just he looked like he had a weight on the bottom of his jaw, didn't he? Just like gawping at this answer. It was like, what, you can't be bothered answering a question about me, but you turn around and talk about this stuff. And yeah, it was just perfect. And then you've got Eric Bischoff's reaction at the top of the stage as well, where he was like, wow, actually really impressed. It was actually really good character work from all three of them. Just A star, best segment of the night.
It was. The fourth question is another bit that popped me really well. You just mentioned it through Eric Bischoff. So Eric asks, why is Orange so popular? So Jericho goes on to the mini segments. Jericho basically say like Orange is like a pimple in wrestling in today's world. He just wants to pop him like boop, which got me. But it was Eric Bischoff when he asked Orange to answer it. Orange didn't say anything, and then he just like Orange like shook his head or something. And Eric Bischoff, he looked like he broke character and just laughed a little bit, which I found pretty funny. And then the last question was, why does this rematch mean so much? And this is what Orange answers once again. He basically says to Jericho that Orange needs to win this match. Obviously, he will win this match, but if Jericho loses this match, he'll basically be known as the guy that lost a match with the guy with his hands in the pocket. And that enraged Jericho, where they started having a mini brawl. Hager comes in, cleans Orange out, and then Chris knocks him out with the Judas effect. And that's where the best friends jump out just to assist Orange, even though his face is eating carpet at this moment in time. That is not a sexual innuendo. That is literally what has happened. Just phenomenal, Gary. I absolutely loved it. I've just Googled whilst I was speaking then, Chris Jericho's face, and stunning.
Yeah, it's one of the best visual sort of effects of split screen I've ever seen in my life.
It's phenomenal. It is brilliant.
Can I just be bluntly of like honest with this, right? I've seen Chris Jericho pretend to be someone from the KKK in the latest Jason and Silent Bob movie. I've seen him be Kevin Owens' best friend. I've seen him be Lion Tamer, Lionheart, Y2J, Save Us, all them sort of iterations. Can I just say AEW Chris Jericho is the pinnacle of Chris Jericho. It's
he really is
insane. It's like he's put all of his experience into this one character, and it's just ramping up every week, getting better and better and better.
He keeps going up in my estimations every time, and I just didn't even know it was possible for that guy. It's absolutely insane. He's another person that's got me into podcasts and speaking about stuff, because just listening to him, I could listen to his voice all the time. He's just such a cool person. He's so intelligent when it comes to his personas as well. Just spot on. Great work from all three of them. The commentators didn't really say much because Eric Bischoff were there, and I enjoyed to see him back on TNT for so many times. There was one little tiny bit where Chris Jericho said, "I've always hated you, Bischoff." Yeah, even though for the 22 years we've seen you. And I think Bischoff replies back saying, "It's been 24." It's just brilliant. Spot on.
Yeah, it absolutely has. And I just think I loved the facial expression on Eric Bischoff there as well, because he was like, well, if Orange Cassidy can get one over on you, I'm going to get one over on you. And he actually legitimately got the last word against Chris Jericho. So that's brand new and different.
It is. Do you think we'll see him more often then, Gary? Eric, that is.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that it's not too often, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. Like every now and
maybe
again when
once
they
every.
want to bring a big face out, well, not a face, but like a face that wrestling knows, they might just bring him out.
Yeah, I think I've said several times, I'm probably the biggest WCW mark on the planet. So when it comes to Eric Bischoff, yeah, I'd love to see him on my TV every week, but I've got to be realistic here. The novelty would wear off with the nostalgia levels.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm really looking forward to seeing this new era of superstar and wrestler come through. So if that was to stop that from happening, I think I'd be upset in the end. So even as a massive Eric Bischoff fan, I still wouldn't want to see him every week, if you get what I mean.
I think the next time I want to see him is if they have like a big announcement to make or something, or even if he comes out with Tony Khan. I think that would just be a very big statement in itself. Like you had, was it Bret Hart that did the AEW Championship when they showed
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had basically Mike Tyson with the TNT as such in a way. I think it would be really neat if there was another title or something having Eric Bischoff, but I generally think that we're looking at way off for that. However, spot on. We'll move on. Just outstanding. Best thing of the night, segment wise. So the next little bit, we had the only female action on the card, which was very surprising considering they had the TNT women's tag team tournament on YouTube earlier in the week. I generally thought they were going to either replay that, like just a few bits of highlights or as such, but no, they went for a little bit of an angle, which I'm 50-50 on, to be honest, Gary. What it was Britt Baker came out. She had to pick someone for Big Swole to face. She picked Reba, which was going to be, I guess, either Reba was going to be some absolutely beast of a woman, but no, it was the person we thought. So Big Swole comes out in her things. They have a bit of a match, which Reba got a bit of offense on, which I was very surprised with. I did pop to, but it made Big Swole look very weak. But we'll get into that in a second. And then Big Swole does her finishing move, that weird twisty, fisty, punchy thingy, 1, 2, 3. And Britt Baker was on the sideline in her Rolls Royce with a megaphone, looking very disappointed at the very end. So they'll definitely be having a match. It was very unusual to see this on my side, to be honest, Gary. It was two thoughts. I liked it because obviously you're putting Britt Baker on it. I think she's the pinnacle of the women's division. Just seeing her around, you just need to. She needs to be on every week as much as her as possible because it doesn't even take long for her to do a promo anymore. She's gone from speaking to Tony for just doing quick 30 seconds here and there, which is phenomenal. But I think it was the fact that Reba got a bit of assault in. I get why. But I think it's just a bad choice for Swole to look weak at any point before a match with Britt Baker, if you know what I mean. I liked it because it did pop me, but again, I was thinking, oh, this is very unusual. Then Big Swole won, but I can look past that now because we're going into the Britt Baker Big Swole all-out match.
Yeah, do you think that Britt Baker's that over now that she can actually take that loss all out?
I thought she could take that loss all out a while ago, I'll be honest. However, I don't want her to take the loss out now. I want her to start going on a winning streak, and I want her to get the title.
Yeah, I think I've said numerous times, like, I'm after, like, Britt Baker owning everything in that women's division at the minute. Because she seems to be the only character that's connecting with anyone.
Correct. Yeah, definitely.
You know, I definitely think that something's happened since she's turned heel, and she's just clicked with this character that she's got, the demented dentist, right? And the role model. And I just think that in terms of female role models in wrestling, she's actually far more entertaining than the other one.
Okay, I'm not going to go into that because I've got different thoughts on that entirely. I would like to agree and disagree, just as my quick summary.
The reason that I am saying this, right, is because she's not been
given it.
No, it's because she's not been overhyped.
Oh, okay.
This is all just take the original Bayley back in NXT.
Okay.
right? This is the level where Britt Baker is now, right? Since Bayley has come up to that main roster, yes, she's still got the wrestling talent and all this sort of stuff going on, right? And she is one of the best in the business, bar none. In fact, if I could bring someone over, it'd either be her or Sasha, but a little bit overexposed at the minute.
Yes, I would tend to agree to that. And
Whereas 30 seconds promos from Britt Baker each week is not going to do that on one program.
yes, yeah, I do agree. And I think it's where it becomes in moderation. If you look at the Charlotte aspect in WWE, she was on every brand and she was very overexposed and everyone hated her. Then you get the Sasha Banks and Bayley situation, which is quite similar. They're on every brand, but it'll slightly go old. I'm going to tend to disagree with you as well because I'm still enjoying that angle, even though they are slowly putting it down the sinker in many, many different ways with their booking style. I'm still enjoying
I think in the same way they're holding out on the Hangman and Kenny thing in AEW, they're holding out on the Bayley and Sasha thing on Raw and SmackDown. I just think they're waiting for the fans to come back. But again, it could be a year.
Yeah, it is. It's each company are hanging on the best storylines as much as they can now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, Gary. It's just I do not want to speak about WWE.
No, I get that. It is an AEW podcast after all, but it does help sometimes to throw in a few comparisons. Not that I'm disparaging WWE or anything, because they are a fantastic company in their own right.
Yes,
they wouldn't be around after so many years if they weren't the best in the business.
And it's okay. I've just contradicted myself anyway because I'm the one that brought up Team Hell No anyway. So
it's amazing how often we've done this comparison thing today, isn't it?
It is. But I think this is one of the types of shows. It's what I mentioned when I saw the segments. The first thing it reminded me of were like WWE stuff, but the good side of the WWE stuff. It was just a good welcome change and much appreciated. But for me, it's the trouble of just minimizing the division as such. And again, that's it, Gary. Are you free this weekend? We can have 20 minutes just speaking about not both women's divisions, just Britt Baker and the women's division in general and AEW. And then we can speak about the WWE side because I can speak about this forever. So that's it.
Yeah.
Name us a time this weekend. Send me a text.
Manage that.
Yeah, sorted. That's going to be our first.
So there you go. There's a preview for you all. Every single one of you listeners getting a bonus episode this weekend. Congratulations to you all, and thank you to us.
Give us a medal. So somebody
give us a like and a subscribe. Come on, you know you want to.
Someone that didn't get a medal, Darby. So the last match of the evening was Moxley versus Darby. I'll quickly go through the match. Darby did his entrance. He was wearing John Moxley's face, and I generally thought he was like coming out in the Walking Dead sort of style. He stayed in the ring whilst Moxley made his entrance. Moxley just stared at the little paper face of himself on Darby's head. He ripped it off. Then Darby slapped him. And I generally think Darby said to Moxley pre-match, actually hit me, because Moxley full on swung for him and jabbed him in the jaw. It actually made him bleed slightly. They fought out the ring for outside. Moxley threw Darby's head in the ring post. Massive slap. It was very, very well worked, that one. Moxley said, you need to stay down. They did quite a few decent moves together. They work well. I thought it was sloppy every now and again, but it doesn't matter because of the ending angle. Loads of moves, either left, right, centre. Moxley looked a very strong candidate, and Darby kept coming up for more, which was the promo indication earlier on. Then you suddenly see in the corner of your eye, Wardlow comes storming out. So MJF Secret Service, he distracts the ref. Darby's coming the floor at this time. MJF gets the belt off the table, runs into the ring, slaps Moxley over the head with the ring. Moxley goes on the floor with a cut. Darby wants to capitalize on this whilst MJF runs away and Wardlow goes back to the back, uses a coffin drop, but Moxley changes his position slightly, gets Darby in a sleeper. I thought this was going to be the finish, until they did a few T spots. Darby got a burst of energy, raked his eyes, got into a few moves, but Moxley hit him again, put him into a weird, I forgot what type of move it is now. It's not a DDT, it's like a, CM Punk did it on Cena in Money in the Bank, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. Power driver, that's the one. A power driver type move. Sorry for that, Gary. Me being stupid.
That's all right.
And then Moxley goes for the cover. 1-2. Darby hits out, and this is where I very saw the Japan version of Moxley come out. He was very frustrated, started tapping the ring, started going around the ring in a bit of a, not tantrum, bit of a stance, saying, no, I don't want to do this to you, I don't want to do this to you. And then he does it, brings out the paradigm shift, 1, 2, 3, wins it, and cradles Darby's head at the very end, because he's always liked Darby. As a finishing match and angle, Gary, I thought it couldn't get any better, but I don't know your thoughts on it, really. I'll tell you my thoughts after I hear you.
It's very much a brotherly sort of environment between the two of them, isn't there? There's competition there, but it is very much a like brother versus brother sort of thing going on. Like the little brother's trying to prove everything to the big brother, so they're taking every risk and every single opportunity that they possibly can just to get that opportunity to get the 1, 2, 3. Whereas the big brother's like, I don't want to hurt you, but I will if I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was, to me, the story of the match was just a story of brothers that are fighting. Even though I know they're not, it just resembled that to me.
It's this is where the booking of AEW comes in perfectly for me, because what I got at the end of the match, I was thinking to myself, I cannot wait in a few years' time to see Moxley versus Darby. And then it struck me, because I was like, I cannot wait in a few years' time to see Cody versus Darby. Then I was like, well, I can't wait to see another rematch with Darby and Sammy. So I was thinking to myself, every time this guy's in the main picture, Darby, for some reason, even though he's not been a professional wrestler for so long, he brings the best out of people. And I think it's just his electric and explosive style. He just reminds me, well, not reminds me because I don't wrestle, but I think it's because I'm like similar to his build. And in every sports I've been in, it's mostly been about speed for me, speed and endurance. And that's where I can't relate to Darby as such, because he's much more of a badass than I have. He has got many more tattoos than I've only got 2. He's got a full arm, like with a broken arm. But he's insane. I generally think if I had to be a wrestler, I would mix Darby and probably Darby Orange and a few others into it in one. He's pure gold, that kid. He's going to be phenomenal when he's older. I just don't want him to hurt himself too much. I think he just needs to take a break. Again, it's good now because they rested my ease with what I mentioned early on in the week to do with why the hell is this match happening? It shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't have been booked. But it's just a fact just to get MGF over more as a D word, using the belt and stuff. And I can see why they've put it in. Again, I don't think it should be needed. I think they could have done it in a different sort of way. But overall, for me, top stuff this. And this was the match of the night. Very close to the very, very first match. I thought that first match was outstanding. But because it's a singles match, it's making that title feel a bit more important again, where it just feels lackluster every now and again. And I don't think if that, for me, I don't know if that's Mox's fault, if it's the current situation's fault, or it's the fact that you've gone from one huge big persona to another big persona, but in a different type of way. I generally think it is time to take the title off Moxley, but overall, very, very well done. And it's made me look forward to what's going to happen next with MJF and Moxley and where Darby goes from here, because Brian Cage and Starks didn't show up because they were banned from what Taz told us earlier on.
Yeah, I think the story between Darby and Brian is going to be stellar. But I think I've said several times, I've always liked the sort of David versus Goliath sort of comebacks matches, and that's always going to be that between them. And if Darby can do for Bryan what he's done for the rest of them, then that's going to be next level.
It is. And I think he really, really could. It's just weird. His style just somehow just complements absolutely everybody, even if it's someone with a similar something or it's a very submission-esque. I would love to see Darby against someone really, really different now. In an odd way, I want to see like Darby versus Orange. Probably not yet, but you know what I mean? Just to see how it goes. Because it's so unusual. So we're going into All Out now with a top angle, with somebody that has brought out a hell of a match. I don't know if that was Darby's doing or Mox's doing, or just collectively, just top, phenomenal.
Yeah, I think for all of the things that I said earlier, Mox can definitely put a match together.
Yeah.
I've never said that I disliked him from his wrestling standpoint. It's just not the type of character that I identify with.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You know, it is. I know some people that think he's the greatest character on the entire show. So at least there's someone for everyone. I guess that proves. But for me, the stars out of that main event were Wardlow, MJF, and Darby.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, if Mox is playing a part in putting all three of them over, then go for it. Congratulations, clap, clap.
Yeah. And no matter how it goes, if MJF wins or loses it All Out, I just want to see a Moxley versus Wardlow match after that. No matter how it ends up, if it's title related and non-title related, I would just love to see it now. And that's who they need to push next after the MJF stuff if he wins or loses overall. But as a show, absolutely outstanding. So Gary, have you seen the ratings for the show? I just want to bring this up even though I don't usually want to speak about it.
Yeah, I have 900,000 people.
Mental, isn't it? So just for everybody's reference, both NXT and AEW are up in the ratings. I'm trying to load it up right now, but for some reason my internet's going extremely slow.
I think NXT got 700 and either 23 or 43,000, which is amazing for them. That's about what AEW have been doing whilst they've been beating them. So when it comes to both sides getting a bit of an increase in the ratings, maybe everyone's got bored of watching the news 24/7.
But what I don't understand is, from what I've seen, loads of sports are back. So how that's gone up massively with this many sports coming back is just outstanding to me. It's something that we mentioned in the preview that no matter how the shows go, they just need to increase and keep it up. So I've got the exact numbers: 901 for Dynamite and 753 for NXT. So they both just went up. Just stupendously.
All of them conversations about AEW can't hit 800,000 anymore just went completely out the window, hasn't it?
It was, and it was very big for the 12-man match, and I think that's just perfect to keep that many people on at the very, very beginning. Just perfect stuff. I'm very proud of both of them. It just gets Wednesday nights up, and if Raw didn't have Underground going on like on Monday, maybe they could have beaten Raw this week, but no, they had to bring Shane McMahon back, pushing new superstars. Dolph Ziggler, but never mind that. I'm just happy. The only disappointing side about this show and overall is I did want them to try and advertise the 3 shows that are moving early, but they didn't do that. I don't know if they did it on the adverts in America, I'm unsure, but they didn't do it from what I saw, which is Fight TV in Europe. So if they do, please comment on it below. But on my side, they really, really didn't. I'm just happy that in the empty arena era, both shows went up very much so.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think everyone's starting to adapt back to the normal habits now.
Yeah.
As opposed to being constantly glued to the news. I think people are starting to now that sports are back, they're starting to gravitate back to sports. And pro wrestling might not be a real sport, but it is sports entertainment, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's athleticism in that football players, whether you're talking about soccer or American football, are going to be well proud of. They'd only wish that they could do half the stuff that people in them professional wrestling rings can do. And that's whatever company you're working for.
It is. Very good stuff. So we'll always end it off, Gary, with a random wrestling question. I don't have any to hand. Is there any that you want to ask?
Yeah, if you were to, seeing as WWE have been a bit of a theme during this, right? If you were to bring one person over from WWE to help with the ratings in AEW, who would it be and why?
Oh, a bit of a concentrated question, because you said to help with the ratings, or
Yeah.
is it just in general?
Yeah, no, to help with the ratings, they need to bring a number over with them.
Oh, okay. This is it's just it's room for the most electric man in the whole of sports entertainment. I know he's not exactly signed for him, but if you can get The Rock on AEW somehow, it'll be absolutely outstanding. I'm going to answer this question with a few people, to be honest, Gary, just on top of my head, just to answer it in different ways for me. I don't know who you're thinking of, but for me, The Rock is hands down the top priority. Any type of contract, that's Legends contract or normal WWE contract, because he will bring numbers. He will bring numbers outside of wrestling as well. People that know him in films, TV shows, he'll bring it in. Him buying XFL very recently, he might bring sports fans, like football fans, and you never know. He is one of the best people. He's more of a draw than I would say Stone Cold Steve Austin is these days.
He's more of a draw than any other person on the planet. Let's be honest here.
He is. I don't know what it was, but I think it was like $1 million or something. You can put an advert in one of his Instagram posts. It's absolutely insane. Okay, so number two person is, because he's up in the air slightly, just a bit questionable more. It's Rey Mysterio. Again, a big household name. His contract is basically done for in WWE because of all this situation. He may have lost an eye, cough, cough, joke. I know his son's there at the moment. They did actually look pretty well against Seth Rollins the other week, but I think because of his stature and his name, and because he's small, getting with John Silver, they'll be phenomenal. Because he's smaller as well, it's that different aspect, because you've got people like Marco Stunt, you've got the smaller people on the roster, so you could actually do, like, mind the pun, tiny different things with them as well. And I think that would be very, very positive. But I would love to see someone as his name that could still wrestle a little bit, even though The Rock could, but wrestle a bit more regularly on TV each week. See how that would bring in. So number three is somebody Chris Jericho's mentioned.
There we go. That's the answer.
Okay, Chris
That's
Jericho.
the one.
Yeah, Chris Jericho's mentioned him on his, I think it's his Saturday night specials he does.
He's mentioned him multiple times.
I think you know who I'm going for, but I genuinely
know
think
exactly who you're going for.
Roman Reigns will be absolutely outstanding in AEW.
Here's your man.
I don't think he's that loved in WWE, because he does get shoved down people's throats, but that's all booking, okay? Apparently, the WWE locker room and a lot of people in the AEW locker room look up to him. They speak to him very, very a lot. He's got a creative mind from, I didn't believe until people saw me. I just generally thought he was WWE built. And his ring style, even though it's limited like John Cena and The Rock's, he's a star. And he would bring people over. And if you bring him over, Seth Rollins will go absolutely mental in WWE, and he might not come over, but he might have a different gimmick in WWE, because these two will be in AEW. But I generally think out of them three, he's probably the most available one to bring over. Maybe not just yet, but soon.
Yep. I can't disagree with you on that. There were two names that went through my mind, and he is definitely far and away the number one name that I had.
Who's your second?
Because I'm not counting The Rock, because he's not under contract at the minute, as we believe.
Okay.
Right? I won't count Stone Cold or any of the legends. I won't count CM Punk, because technically that's a Fox contract. right? So there was Roman and there's Randy Orton.
Ooh.
I think with the work that he's been doing in the last 6 months, there is no one that could have done any better at what he's doing. He's literally slowed down so much that he's made a career out of working snail's pace. And I just think in an AEW arena that the heat level for Randy Orton just immense, and everyone knows his name. So some people are going to tune in just to see Randy Orton. I
Fantasy
know that
booking
they
time.
will.
Fantasy booking time. I don't know why he's the first person against my head, but Ray Phoenix against Randy Orton.
Yeah, because they're complete polar opposites.
That would be phenomenal. There's a few people I would actually see or want to see against Randy Orton, but if say it did happen, I think it's when you compare him and Roman Reigns, it's very, very probably a bit more unachievable to get Randy Orton over. I know he teased a while ago on Twitter when he took that picture next to that plaque that had Elite on the side of it. Got a few people buzzing, but I think there's more one-off matches that probably draw a bit more with Randy Orton against a few AEW people than what Roman Reigns would. You would see Roman Reigns more of your TV each week or every other week you see him on, but you see Randy Orton as the AEW part-time wrestler instead of like a WWE part-time wrestler. Somebody like Brock Lesnar, I think Randy Orton would suit that role in AEW, where he just shows up for like a couple of weeks in a row every couple of months. It would just be top. It would be really, really, really good. And he wouldn't burn out either because he, as you said, he is that developing persona. He's very slow style. Even in his promos, he starts off like tiny and then grows off to have a big angle. But I give him full praise. I don't like him as much as I used to, but from what he's done beginning of this year to now, he's probably the best one in that company at the moment, minus the two female stars.
Yeah, and there's your hook for our next episode.
Precisely. So much appreciated, everyone, for listening to this very interesting crossover-esque review of AEW Dynamite. But we thoroughly enjoy it. We enjoy it every time. And when me and Gary get some spare time this weekend, we will try and do that other podcast in relation to Britt Baker and the AEW female stars that will cross over to the WWE stars as well. Give you a bit more content. Please like and subscribe if you can do. Again, we're not sharing our Twitter details because we're creating that page eventually. We're just breaking in. I hope you enjoy the new branding. This is probably the second video with it on now, but it's all much appreciated. Gary, I know you've got a Twitter account that you go on more than I do at the moment in time, so please tell us your personal Twitter title.
Yeah, my Twitter account's at GForce4Life. It's number 4 and life has a Y instead of an I.
I will put it in the description just in case anyone didn't catch that. I caught it, but you know what some people are like. They might be listening to us on ×2 speed. If you do, you probably don't understand a word I speak anyway, because I speak at ×2 anyway, but you never know. But enjoy your video. Thank you very much. Bye, 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 bye.